Gang, gang, bang, bang.
Gang. What up, everyone?
Good
Happy
good Sunday
Happy
morning.
Sunday. Yeah,
Happy
Independence Day.
belated Canada Day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all the good important days of the year.
Yeah.
probably my favorite religious holiday.
Yeah, me too. I feel you on that.
Yeah.
Um, Beautiful weekend, I think here.
Gorgeous weekend.
It rained
So
a
hope you
lot, but
guys.
yeah.
I hope you guys got to enjoy that. Did it really? It didn't.
It rained.
Apparently, apparently it hailed on Friday.
What?
That's what I heard. Is like some areas got some hail.
I was up north.
There was a
It
tornado
rained.
last week. I think last Sunday.
Damn.
Wow, way to hype up the beautiful weather, guys.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Tornado, some hail. Perfect.
The ocean's on fire.
It is.
Yeah, I
It
saw that.
actually
Shit.
is.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I thought it was CGI when I first saw it, and I was like, "What is this movie? This looks interesting."
The Gulf. What is it? What Gulf is it?
The Gulf of Mexico.
Mm.
But yeah, when I read the caption stuff, I was like, "Oh shit, this is for real." It's wild.
I heard it was because Lucas was DJing underwater. His tape was just so fire.
Lucas, you should know better than that, man.
Yeah,
Come
sometimes I put my phone on shuffle and shit just gets crazy, guys.
on. Yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
shit.
Scott Hoss here. He says all three look good today. Is there usually someone who doesn't?
Who
Yeah, who does
Who's
that?
the slacker?
that's kind of like a
Why?
backhanded compliment because now we're all like
Am I usually not looking decent? But I appreciate that. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, man.
yeah.
I feel really good now. We could just probably end the episode right here.
Yeah, let's end on a good note.
It wasn't even a good note. All we did was talk about these tragedies that happened. But the one thing is we look decent, so hey.
What do you
Gotta
guys
find the
drink?
silver linings, man.
What are you guys drinking today?
I'm still shooting tequila. All day, every day,
Sick.
baby.
Cottage Springs, the lemonade got one more, and they got 5 socialites to finish tonight. So
I kept drinking the crack canoe. It actually was. I think it was the first time I had it. Wasn't super cold. It wasn't as good. Now that like it's been in my fridge for a while, it's actually not bad. So I take back all the bad things I said about it last week.
Scott's
said that
drinking
was-
tequila.
Hey, very nice. You said that was like the light version, right?
Yeah, it's the light version. Yeah,
Nice.
tequila here too. Nice. Sorry, I didn't hear what you said, but I realize now. Tequila's not my thing, but maybe I just gotta drink good tequila.
It's an acquired. Well, I mean, all alcohol.
I think all
is an
liquor
acquired
is,
taste.
yeah.
So
The problem is like I haven't drank anything like hard liquor wise except rum for no joke probably like the last like 7 years.
And pink wit. But I guess it's not
Pink
hard.
Wit. But like I don't drink it. Like I'll just
Oh.
shoot it.
no, honestly, have you? Whenever you do your tequila shots or drinks or whatever, do you ever do it with a lime?
No.
Like take a shot with lime? That changes the game. Like I don't do
Like
it
you
anymore.
suck on it first?
Afterwards.
No.
Yeah.
See, I want to be able to just shoot something that like I can just like like it's not
Oh, enjoy
worst,
it.
but it's like it's not.
No, it's not. To me, it adds to the flavor. I mean, I don't really ever use limes, but like when they are available, like absolutely, it adds to it for me.
Even even
Wish.
rum and cokes throwing a lime in there,
Yeah,
huge difference.
hell
Just
yeah.
sometimes I'm just like I don't want to put a lime, then I got to refrigerate the rest until the next time I have one.
I mean, it's nice if you have like that all preset if you're having like a party or something, and there's just like a thing of limes there. I'm down with that.
Yeah, that's actually not bad. Scott Hall got hyped again for Mexico 2022. Word.
2022, baby, big trip.
Yeah, it's gonna be here before we know it. I can already tell.
I'm telling
Like
you,
it's
man.
already July.
Yeah, what do I have? I think I have 10.
If
Yeah,
2
mine-
days
Nine
or
or 10
something?
months? 9 or 10 months, something like that. I
Mhm.
don't remember.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just gonna fly.
Yeah.
Um,
Next thing we know, it's gonna be like the end of summer. We're gonna be like, ah, the good times.
Merry
went by too
Christmas.
quick. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then and we repeat it all over again till we
exactly.
die.
Yeah.
Life's so beautiful.
So with it
Yeah, so
being,
Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say since July 1st, because Jesus' birthday is December 25th. What's July 1st?
It's when Canada was born.
Oh,
And I don't live in Jesus. I live in Canada.
Jesus lives in you, bud.
Whoa. He doesn't have my consent.
That's an interesting take, dude.
What?
That's worth talking about shortly. I can't use my fridge here. Yeah, that's an interesting one. We'll have to come back to that.
Lukasz
But I
said
guess
something.
at the same point, sorry, it is very sad that Canada Day, all these things coming out about like the Aboriginal findings, like that shit's, or
Yeah.
Indigenous people. Sorry, I used the wrong term.
Yeah, it is very sad.
That's
Would
just
you
fucked.
say it's worth canceling Canada over though?
No.
No, personally, no. I don't know if that's biased because I'm not Indigenous. I'm sure people of Indigenous backgrounds might feel otherwise, but that's my personal take.
I happen to know this lady. I won't say her name yet, but she's like an activist in the Indigenous community and like a leader. She puts on a lot of programs and stuff, helps out the community a lot. And even she was saying like, yeah, the residential schools were shit, a lot of bad things, but a lot of good things came from them as well. Like most things in history, like there's the good and the bad. So I guess as long as we learn from it.
It's interesting you say that. So this kind of ties in well to our topic today, which is obviously, guys, if you didn't know already, religion. So this relates to Catholic school. We had a designated church that in high school we went to. So it was the one in Mississauga, the one Lucas near Loyola, Merciful Redeemer.
Okay.
Basically, the pastor is like getting heated because he made comments along those lines, saying like residential schools weren't all that bad. Like a lot of good came out of it, and he's taking like serious flack.
So here's the thing. Is I think it's touchy because an Indigenous person saying that, hey, some good things came from this as well. Obviously, because they're the victims in this case, you're just like, oh, cool. What would have been
someone who's not part of
right? But
culture.
What the pastor should have said was, like, first of all, just be apologetic or show sympathy. Maybe not even apologetic. It wasn't you who did it, but at least show sympathy. Like, just be like, oh shit, this sucks, instead of not addressing it at all and just being like, hey, we do some good stuff too. Like, well, bro, like, empathize a little bit. Like, that doesn't help that you didn't do that.
Yeah. But yeah, that I didn't know if you guys had seen that, but I was talking to Kel and she was like, yo, do you see our old pastor is like in the news? I was like, no. But I thought that was interesting. But yeah, again, it's one of those, like people that are, part of that community. It's different when it comes from them versus someone who is not saying that.
Yeah. Here's the thing that I find interesting about that, though, and I'm really trying not to be insensitive here. Like, obviously, my heart goes out to the Indigenous community. I mean, the history of those residential schools is tragic. A lot of really shitty things happened. I don't support all the bad things, obviously. Whatever, I go on and on. But the thing that I find interesting is I did a little bit of looking into how they identified the graves and stuff. I don't know if you guys did that.
No, I didn't.
It's basically just like a sonar, I suppose, of the ground, and just like it bounces back and you can kind of read graves, but like you can't see anything. It literally the image is just like a gray image with like wavy lines. And I'm not saying that they don't know what they're doing, because I obviously don't know how the fuck any of this stuff works. But like, how did they identify
how many people? That's actually really interesting. That'd be worth looking into.
How
someone
many
in chat knows, that'd be cool.
If someone could educate us. Yeah, like how do they identify how many people? What kind of people? To be honest, like, are they all Indigenous? Like, you can safely you can assume that because it is on the residential school grounds, so you could assume I have there. But like, you can't entirely rule out the possibility that maybe just a bunch of, let's say the argument, white people died and they just got buried there as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, it's very interesting to.
It's interesting.
So to clarify, none of these bodies were dug up?
No, because they have to get permission from the Indigenous communities, and usually the people involved, like, they have to get their permission to dig up the bodies.
Even though they don't know who exactly is involved?
No. I think there's safe grounds to assume it's Indigenous people, so they have to get permission from the Indigenous community to do it out of respect.
Okay.
But yes, until then, it is just a giant assumption, a safe assumption, but a giant assumption.
Yeah, still an assumption.
Interesting.
That's very interesting. I'll have to look into that more. And yeah, if anyone in chat knows how that whole process works with the sonar, whatever you want to call that, I'd love to hear that. That sounds super fascinating.
Yeah, it was very weird.
All right, let's
lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah, change. My joke might not, but I wanted to stick to the theme this week, which is religion. So, let's say you go to heaven after and they have this annual basketball game. Who you picking? You know, who would you want to be on your basketball team when you go to heaven? Because I know I'd want Peter because he can deny Jesus 3 times.
What if Peter is like the number 1 basketball player in heaven right now? Like he continues that and he actually makes a career out of it.
When Jesus steps on the court, you know, or when Peter subs in, you know, Jesus goes, "Damn it!"
Yeah, when you go up to heaven, you're like, I heard Peter denied you 3 times. Like, dude, it's like 3,000 times now, dude. This guy's been still going at it.
What if Jesus isn't on the opposing team?
Is his teammate too?
No, he can't.
Does Peter just suck then?
No, why would Jesus want him on his team? He denied him.
No, but I'm saying, what if Jesus isn't even on the team, like on the opposing team? Like, what if Jesus isn't on the court?
Team. No, it's his team. It's like one of those like picks. Jesus gets to pick his team and shit. Jesus obviously never picks Peter.
Do you think he picks Judas though?
Yeah, because Jesus tell you to keep your enemies closer?
True.
So he did. He definitely picked Judas.
Jesus
Judas is fouling nonstop.
No, I think Jesus is gonna be fouling Judas nonstop. Footstooling him.
Jesus doesn't foul, bro. Jesus never gets fouled, or he never gets fouls called. But yeah, I thought that was
when he washes his feet, but before the game, he covers them in oil so Judas can't run on the court. His sandals are flying everywhere.
Whoa!
He does a quick crossover and fucking he makes him slip.
Do you think they have Air Jesus 95s there?
Yeah, dude, they're like Birkenstocks.
It's a great topic for Space Jam 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Because in Space Jam 2, they're not gonna win, so they all get sent to heaven, and then.
Bro, Space Jam 2 got censored so hard. There's no way they're putting Jesus in that shit. Lola Bunny doesn't even have breasts anymore. Like, what the fuck? Super successful joke, Matt. Super successful.
Yeah, good joke.
Pull it up, Lucas.
Yeah. Yo, the other thing too, Jesus' go-to tactic is like when the team goes for their water breaks, he just turns all their water to wine. Just like super wasted the whole game. Jesus like undefeated.
Cheers, that was a good one, Matt.
So yeah, let's jump right into it then. So we've talked about this one a lot offline outside of the podcast a bunch of different times. Really just I think a lot of us are on the same page. I don't know, have we in a previous podcast talked about like where we stand kind of with our beliefs?
What's interesting?
Where we want to start?
I think we have. But we could cover
I think we've kind of danced around it. But interestingly enough is we've talked about this outside. I don't think any of us, even outside of the podcast, have really gone into any detail about what we really believe in. I don't think, maybe.
Yeah.
But to preface this whole podcast, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I've been thinking about this ever since we said we were going to do a religion topic, because I kind of want to, build some foundation on what I believe. My position may have changed.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, very interesting. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, okay, I guess we could just dive right into it. Okay, so the camp that I used to be in before is 100% I don't believe... I don't believe in a god. Before, the camp that I was in is 100% didn't believe in a god. And even if there was a god, I had beef with that idea.
I just want Jesus in the background for this. Go ahead.
Give him strength. The reason for that is because I feel like if you're looking at monotheism, and for those who don't know, monotheism is one god, polytheism is many gods. Examples would be Christianity as monotheism and Hinduism as polytheism. Looking at it through the lens of monotheism, what didn't make sense to me was, okay, if there's one powerful god, one true powerful god, why is there evil in the world? And by answering this question, there's you could kind of figure out that there isn't, because, okay, the answer is either there's evil in the world because he can't get rid of all evil, so he's not all powerful. Therefore, he's not like a all powerful God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whatever. Evil exists because he can get rid of it, but he chooses not to. In which case, he's spiteful and somewhat evil. Why the fuck would you worship him anyways? And then that really just breaks it down. There is he either doesn't want to or he can't. And if he can't, well, why do I spend my time worshiping something that I don't
that
really
do everything.
Need to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that there isn't benefits, but like whatever, like it, I feel like there's nothing for me to gain from that. And then if it's the other way around, that he can vanquish all evil but chooses not to, well, fuck that. Then I don't play that game. And quite frankly, there's so many shitty things that happen in the world, and I have a hard time buying into, oh, it's all part of a plan. Like, if any bad thing happens to a child is part of God's plan, fuck that, I ain't on board. Like, I ain't cool with that. But then where my mind kind of changes is, I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, maybe I'm looking at all this stuff a little too literally. And maybe it's not about a God doing things. And I started looking at metaphorical versions of God and what I think I would believe in situations where people are like, oh, like this was God, or like God helped me do this or whatever. In those situations, like I'll give you an example, like old ladies lifting cars to save babies. I understand it's adrenaline and stuff, but in those moments, a lot of people would attribute it to God helping them get through things. Or people who get stranded in the Amazon for 30 days and they make it out alive, and they attribute it to God. One of stories that my mother always used to tell me about is she was driving home from a party one day when she was younger, so tired, and she fell asleep at the wheel on the highway, like completely out. And when she woke up, she was at home on her driveway. And it's there's some major moves to make there. You got to exit the highway, you got to make like a left-hand turn, a right-hand turn, park the car. So there's a lot of shit to do, but in her consciousness,
recollection,
to her recollection, thank you, she was completely out. So what she attributes it to a lot is her guardian angels, really helped her there, and maybe God helped her. In those moments, though, I think it's a bearded man in the sky doing it. Maybe not. No, but metaphorically, what we all have deep down that helps us get through things that we didn't think we could get through. I could buy that as a loose definition of God.
That's interesting, because a point I was going to make on that is, you see this a lot with athletes, I feel like. So, a lot of them, when they win, MVP, let's say, of the season or the playoffs, they always, I feel like every single one of them always thanks God for his role. And it's like, I find that very interesting, because I don't know why people don't attribute that more to the hard work that they put in themselves. You know what I mean? Like, not that it's, I'm not saying that you can't do that, but I find it interesting that people go that. Like, it seems like every athlete that seems to win these awards, God has always played a role in them making it to where they did. Versus, I don't know, because they don't want to sound like they're conceited that, like, I put in the work. Yeah. I'm proud that, but it's like, you should be, because you did put in the work. You know what I mean? I find that piece interesting.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just going to say, is there a level of, I don't want to be cocky and just be like, I'm the best because I bust my ass, like, like Floyd Mayweather or Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson would say. But yeah, it's a good way to say, like, yeah, I'm great, but it's also showing that you're grateful for the stuff that gave you the ability to work hard. Like, hard work's great, but like, hey, I was born with 2 working legs. I didn't work for that. Like, I just had it. So, like, I mean, I get that, being grateful for the opportunities you're in. But does that being grateful have to immediately translate to thanking God? That's not my style, but
yeah. I had another point to go off there, and I lost it.
Yeah, that's the worst.
So Matt, what's your stance on that?
Yeah, so I think I wouldn't go as hard to say that I'm an atheist in the sense, like, I don't believe in like, I'm more of, I think, agnostic? Like an agnostic, where it's like, I question, like, I don't actively practice any faith. I did go to Catholic school, so I did all the rituals. Sorry, I don't like using that word. It sounds like it's very cultish, which, to some degree, if you like when you're at church and they're doing like the what are those called?
The group prayers?
No, like when they all like say certain parts together at the same time. Anyways, it's like a group response, but everyone speaks at the same time. It sounds very kind of culty.
A mass.
Yeah, but it's a specific part of mass. Anyways, I don't want to get too
hymn?
Too down. Yeah, sure. I think that's what it's called. So when they do the hymns, it sounds very culty. But going throughout high school and stuff.
By the way, sorry to interrupt. The hymns are now called they/them. Go ahead.
You made me fucking lose what I was. So I grew up. Going to high school, doing all the rites of passage. We'll call them. I don't know if that's actually called. But then afterwards, after I graduated, I didn't really partake in much. And like my grandparents on my dad's sides are very religious. They used to do when people like loved ones would pass away, they would hold like these little prayer gatherings so people would come and pray with them. And they still very, very much so thank God for a lot of things. And but for me, it's just something that I don't know. I don't put a whole lot of time or effort into the belief of necessarily like a higher being. It's more so I'm just gonna live my life and kind of take it day by day kind of thing. Like I'm trying to think of times where I've like been like, oh, I really need this, like, God, please, like, help me get, like, I've never had, I think, a time like that, which is not that I can recall, at least. I feel like I more just look like, have those pep talks with myself to be like, you got this, like, you can do this, just stay with it. But who knows, maybe I'll have an experience that I feel like it might only be like your story, a couple weeks ago with the paranormal thing. It might just take one instance that's like, holy shit, I'm a believer. Yeah. And I saw her face.
Sorry, Lucas. Before you tell us your stance, I like that point you just made though, Matt, about like there's like those little things that people do day to day that maybe they don't even acknowledge as being religious. Like, for example, talking to yourself. I know some people might not even talk to themselves, but talk to... They might not believe they're talking to God, but they'll talk to the world or the universe. Yeah. They're just speaking outward. I know people will speak to their dead relatives. And I know that some people, like myself too, and even when I was like hardcore, like, no, there's no God, like, no way, I don't buy into that shit, I would still find myself... I guess believing in something in situations where I didn't have control. For example, like my nieces go outside to play. There's part of me that believes, like, maybe not believes, but there would be part of me that speaks to the world or whatever I'm speaking to, and just being like, oh man, like, look out for those kids. Like, there's a lot of trust in them to do the right thing, to be smart, but there's also just like, I have no control over this situation. They're out in the world now, and I just need to trust that no harm will befall them.
Yeah.
And I feel like all of those things have subtle underlyings in religion, or sometimes not even so subtle, major underlyings in religion, and even the atheists will do all that stuff without acknowledging, or without even recognizing that they're doing religious things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I'm trying to think if I even like people who go like I'm like having a little prayer before bed, just something they do before they go to sleep. I find that again interesting, but Lucas, what's your stance?
I'd say I'm the same in terms of I'm agnostic. Like I'll believe it when I see it, as one-dimensional as that sounds. It's also for me that like, because I guess, there's the good and the evil. So if you kind of believe in one, you should kind of believe in the other. I always think that whenever something bad happens, like, even though, like, let's say, like, genetically speaking, people, pass on very early in life, kids, stuff like that, horrible, obviously, thought. I always put logic behind it. Like, there's genetics involved, there's illnesses, there's complications. So to me, I'd almost feel hypocritical saying like, hey, well then, whenever something's good, it's because of a god, and vice versa. So I see the opposite, because a lot of people are like, well, evil exists because of the devil, so there has to be a god. Where I'm the opposite, where it's like, logically there's evil, that happens just from logic. So I assume that good things happen through logic. But I would definitely, I was raised in a Catholic family, so I definitely still do some like ritualistic things. I think it's just more so because I maybe I enjoy it, or maybe I just subconsciously do it. But like even like on Christmas Day, I don't eat meat, and that was like a religious thing I passed on. But just kind of just what I'm used to. Like I know for Christmas, like I'm having like fish. It's just a symbolic thing, showing that I'm carrying on a tradition for my family, and that doesn't inconvenience me or bother me in any way, shape, or form. I'm like, it doesn't bug me. But something that's always been kind of, for me with religion, that's always kind of not sit right is like, and this is again a one-dimensional thought here, is that if you were to tell me that you had a vision, not a dream, but that you had, spoken to a surreal identity, or spoken to someone that doesn't exist, instantly you get checked out. You'd be like, hey, something's up here. Like, are you good? Are you tired? Etc. Maybe it's mentally something's off. But if you say the same thing, but say it was Jesus or God, everyone's like, oh, you're good then. And I always thought that was kind of whack. Where I'm like, because even churches will be like, hey, like you're seeing things. You go to a hospital, but you're seeing Jesus. Oh, you're good. And I always thought that was crazy. Like that's something just like I was like I can't now give logic to something like that, which to me I can't support that, because to me it's very hypocritical to me.
Yeah, no consistencies there. I dig that. I like that you said though that you guys follow certain religious practice and stuff basically out of tradition. Like it's no longer really rooted in religion, and it's more so just tradition for your family.
Right.
My family does a lot of that. We didn't really grow up in any specific religion, and I mean year round we celebrate like everything from almost every religion, at least one holiday or whatever special day, not even like on purpose to be like, oh, we want to include every religion. It's just like, oh, this is a big day, cool. Like, yeah, on Good Friday we don't eat meat. I'm not Catholic, I'm not Christian, like, but we just do it. And then there are certain like Hindu days where we'll honor that shit. We do Christmas, and like we do everything. And yeah, it's a tradition for my family, but not at all rooted in religion at all.
Yeah,
I
even
think that's good.
A good example is Christmas, right? Like majority of people in Canada, in the States, I'd like to say, probably celebrate Christmas without actually correlating it to anything religious, right?
Yeah, so we used to go to church on Christmas Eve, but that stopped when I was probably in like grade 10 or so. We saw it like my grandparents still did what we never did.
Yeah, if you like something, if you like to do something and it's not harming anyone, go do it. Whether it was something that was supposed to be tied to religion and you aren't correlating that or not. Like Christmas, you like doing that, you like family time, you think Christmas is a family time thing, do it. It doesn't have to be a religious thing. If you like doing it, do it.
Why'd you guys stop, Matt?
I don't know. I don't really remember why. They turned into more of like a celebration than the church piece, so it was just too complicated to coordinate that many people going to church together. So we would all just like, whoever wanted to go would go, and then everyone else would just like stay at home and drink.
And drink. That's the reason why people can go. You didn't have enough DDs.
Priorities. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. So funny enough, like I've started celebrating more of the Hebrew tradition, so Judaism and stuff. And there's a lot of, some other celebrations, like we did Passover in April. Like there's a lot of drinking, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. I'm down to like experience something new, and I get to drink a lot. It was a lot of wine, which I was obviously fine with. So it was basically too. It's like they have like 4 segments, and it's like you have to finish your glass before the next segment. I was like, is this like
a drinking game?
Challenge?
It's just, yeah.
But it was cool. It was cool. It was super cool to see how it was celebrated.
Yeah, for the next part of this Hebrew tradition, we're gonna open up Piccolo.
Yeah.
Everyone's name goes in.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of cool, like seeing how different cultures do it. But the one thing I like, I never really like, it was hard for me to wrap my head around is like the whole like structure of like with Christianity. It's like you take the
body of Christ.
Yeah, what is that called? Communion?
Yeah.
Is that the communion?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, that's his body. The wine is his blood. Like, how did like that get carried down? Like, to me, that whole concept of that process is very fascinating. It's like, how did someone decide that that's what they're gonna do?
For me, the interesting thing is how they turn it in from a loaf of bread into these nice crackers, like these nice
perfectly circular crackers.
I guess
the company that makes those, like,
yeah,
I feel like it's got to lose a lot of meaning and spirituality that's attached to it. Like, there's a fucking production line, and they're just stamping these cookies and fucking packaging them and sending them out on trucks. Like,
yeah,
I feel like you lose a lot of
the
meaning.
A whole warehouse distribution center around the process of distributing.
Bro.
Which I mean, I don't wanna veer off too much, but that's exactly how I feel about Ouija boards. Is like, I mean, we spoke about this. I'm open to the idea of spirituality and paranormal stuff, but Ouija boards, like, there's a factory making these things right next to Monopoly. Like, how is this board all of a sudden very spiritual? I don't get it.
And Yahtzee.
Yeah, Yahtzee. In Game of Thrones Monopoly specifically.
Yeah.
Good one. Yo, is that a thing?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's sick. I have to get that.
So yeah, when I was in high school, we used to do and I'm so sorry anyone who's religious and has to hear this, but what we used to do is when we went to mass, we'd bring popcorn flavoring, like the powder. So when we got the holy bread, maybe it'll be white cheddar today or ketchup. Like, it depends on how I'm feeling.
That is why you were a big boy,
bro. Ready?
That's why,
dude. And I used to ask my colleagues, be like, yo, like, how much for that chip? I'll give you a loonie if you give me your holy bread today. I just like double the flavor. Right here. Yo, it's also 0 calories right here. I don't know if you guys can read that.
No.
The macros are sick.
Dude, that's funny.
Life hacks for church, guys.
So what does a keto person do? Does the keto person just not take communion? Is that?
Yeah, you can go just do a blessing. You do something else with it.
But is it like offensive? It's not offensive?
You do this. You do this.
No, so typically if you've had your first communion is when you can start incorporating the bread, because if you didn't have it beforehand, you had to actually get blessed. But for I guess any reason you'd like, I've never really known if there's a rule for it. You can just go get blessed. I'm pretty sure they just
let's say you're not Catholic and you're at the church to celebrate like someone's communion or whatever, like a niece or whatever. You can go up and you just cross your arms. I used to try to do this, but then so he'd see if he'd put it in my mouth, but.
So that's what you can either do like this. So you're supposed to put your dominant hand under, so to grab the bread.
Then you take it.
Or you can actually. I think I forgot what you have to do with your hands, but you can actually do it where they'll put it directly in your mouth for you.
No way.
That was the thing. I've seen that. I've seen that in church where people do that. But I've also seen where people snake it, because that's what we had to do to get the popcorn seasoning. Is where you'd either have the seasoning already in your hand, so he drops in the seasoning. But my friend did that one time, and the priest was like, "What's on your hand?" And he's like, "Ah, shit."
Is that white cheddar?
Get out of here.
Or what if he just dips it in your hand? He's like, "Oh, it's white cheddar, bro."
I'll keep this one for myself, thank you.
So yeah,
the guy's palm.
You'd have to try to sneak it, so you'd be like this, and then and walk away, and the priest would be like, "Hey, he's stealing the bread!"
And then when you do the sign of the cross after, you're brushing on your shirt. You're like,
Cheeto dust all over.
He's like, "It's not Ash Wednesday. How'd you get that?"
That's wild.
The other thing too, before Ash Wednesday, they have Pancake Tuesday. So at school and stuff, we used to get pancakes at school. Made.
Hype,
the day before Ash Wednesday. Yeah.
Why?
What's the importance again of Ash Wednesday? Lucas, do you know by chance off the top of your head? I don't remember.
I'll look it up while you guys keep talking.
Do you know why they gave you pancakes on a Tuesday? Was it in preparation? You guys are giving something up. How long is it? 21
days? It's for praying and fasting. So you do pancake Tuesday beforehand as your last meal before your fast for Ash Wednesday.
Oh, and then Ash Wednesday is when
first day of because it falls on the first day of Lent, the 6 weeks of penitence before Easter. Yeah. Ash Wednesday is traditionally observed by Western Christians. Western Christians, so 6 weeks. Not Eastern Christians.
Yeah, because I want to circle back to something we were talking about before. So we were talking about how everything that happened is part of a plan. But I feel like if you believe that, then you by default ultimately have to believe then that you don't have choice in your life.
Yeah.
Everything is just choice is then just an illusion.
Or
it doesn't actually matter what you choose to do.
Or you make better choices so that you have better repercussions.
No, you can't. You can't. If it's meant to happen, it's meant to happen regardless of what you do.
So that's the opposite of karma then.
Yes, that would be
because
correct.
karma would be that you do good to get good.
But I'm saying that you can't. I feel like it's contradictory to say I believe in everything happens for a reason, but that I have choice in my life. I feel like you can't have both. You have the illusion of choice, but it doesn't matter. That's how I'd interpret that.
The only way I would argue that is everything happens for a reason. I see what you're saying, but I feel like other people could also mean that that as a synonym for there's a lesson in everything. So like you still have choice, but anything that happens to you happened for a reason to make you a better person. Not necessarily that it was written, but that there's good to take out of every situation. Is maybe how I interpret it.
See, that's an interesting, because not a good example, but an example that I'd be interested to hear is there's an NHL player. His son was 6 days old, passed away. I don't know much of the context, but like heartbreaking, obviously devastating tragedy. Yeah. So like my I'd be very curious to hear like what good do you take out of that? Like what like that is like an extremely difficult, obviously, thing I'm sure as a parent I couldn't even imagine. Like that's a pain that I'm not literally able to fathom, because I couldn't even imagine what that kind of pain and experience would be like.
It's like not to relate a kid to a dog here. That's not what I'm doing. But like dogs have a sincere, like a much shorter lifespan than human beings. And like a lot of people are like, oh, to justify that is because dogs are just so pure all the time that like they don't really have those bad experiences that we have, because we have to experience a longer life to have all these ups and downs, where dogs is just straight up, right? Where dogs are just pure beings, and like that was, I was like, that's an interesting,
They just experience.
For a 6-year-old, you could be like, well, this person was just so pure.
No, dude, 6 days.
6 days. Oh, sorry. Oops, I didn't listen.
Yeah. 6 days.
Well, I mean, I still think there's opportunity to grow and take something away from every situation. I mean, yes, that's horrible, and like you, I can't even begin to fathom that. But that's where, I mean, before, like if I'm thinking in the context of a literal God who has planned everything, that's where, even if he does exist, I'm not down, because I'm not down for you to teach people lessons at the expense of another person.
Of a life, yeah,
like you why would you do that to the kid and to the family? Like, is this lesson that important? And if you want to make the argument that God's plan is beyond our comprehension, I don't care to even comprehend it, because I've got my morals and my the line that I won't cross.
Yeah, like that one's tough. I couldn't even imagine what that's like. But yeah, maybe but even still, like that's where it's like, to your point, if you believe that there's like, how could they let something like that happen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's hard to like, I'm sure people who believe, like, when stuff like that happens, I wonder if it challenges their faith, if they're just like, how could you do this? You know what I mean? And that's one thing I want to touch upon too, is like, I feel like there's obviously different, there's people who, like, in terms of following the Bible, they're like radically follow what happens in the Bible. Like, everything in there is, his quote unquote historical. And like, those people I find very fascinating, because it's, like the whole Noah's Ark story. It's like, you're telling me this one dude somehow collected 2 of every living species and brought them on a boat and like kept them from like
eating each other,
like really?
Yeah.
To save them from the Great Flood? Like, I don't know, man. That's
So have you ever?
That gets tough.
Have you ever
Old
met
Testament stuff is tough.
Yeah. Have you ever met someone who was like that religious, but like there was
a
something?
Bible thumper, as they're called in the streets?
I've never heard that.
Bible thumpers? You never heard that?
No, I never heard that term.
Yeah.
So like, there was a lady in Mississauga when I was younger. I haven't seen her in a while. I don't know if she's moved or I don't wanna. Yeah. Anyway.
Smited.
Old lady. Who used to always interact with my friends and I, because we used to always take public transit to like go to Streetsville and stuff like that, and she just happened to be around those areas and take the same public transit. But there's something about her where like she would always come and talk to us about the Bible, talk to us about just being a good person, like karma, good in, good out. But there was something about where like after speaking with her, and I'm not a religious person, like you just kind of felt like I don't know, like this kind of like this presence after where you're like, I feel good. You know what I mean? Like I had like this conversation with someone, like it was almost like motivating, I guess you could say, because she would just talk about like everything so positively, like like God is good. You're meant to live a good life and a happy life. God bless you, and she was just someone that you didn't even know and like was already wishing you all the best and everything. You're like, wow, appreciate that, lady. I don't know your name. You never introduced yourself with your name, but hey. And she had and something significant is that her husband was blind, who was always with her, and he would never say anything. He was just always there, but he had like a walking stick, and she'd always like guide him. But yeah, she's like the nicest lady ever, super religious. But like for some reason, after talking, and she'd always talk to everyone. But like whenever she talked to us and our group of friends, like we'd be like, yo, like such a nice lady. Like we felt so nice after. We felt like nicer people. We'd be like, let this person in. Let's do our good deed of the day after, because you just have like that like kind of like momentum going, right? You ever have any of those?
There's two sides to that coin, because I think about that often, and though I don't follow any religion, I understand that it is an important thing, and it gets people to the place they need to be a better person. I think religion is a useful tool to some people. The only thing that, again, I see the benefits there. What I don't like is the idea of people who are only good. I'm gonna quote. What the fuck's this show called? True Detectives, because honestly, I think he fucking said it perfect there. But like season 1, absolutely, Matthew McConaughey, when he says that the people who are good out of if the only thing keeping a man good is the expectation of divine reward, well, that person is a piece of shit, and I completely agree with that. Is if you're just
do good,
just for the reward, just to make it to heaven, and not just out of the kindness of, your brethren, and looking out for us as a people. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, whatever gets you to be a good person instead of a bad person, cool.
Yeah, you'll take it.
Yeah, right. Like I'll take that instead of you being a dick. But it's also just like, man, maybe you don't have as many layers as I thought you did.
Yeah.
It's like when you do something out of the fact that like, oh, like I'll get this return, rather than out of the kindness of your heart. To an extent, certain things like obviously there should be an expectation. Like if it's a relationship involved, it's like, yeah, well, this is a relationship.
Just like the people who do all those great things for like homeless people and stuff, and they record the whole thing. Yeah. Like, fuck off. Just do your thing. Why are you doing this for the confirmation of other people?
That's interesting, because I see both sides of that. Because I've seen a lot of these happen, and I was always in the same boat. Like, why you gotta record it? Like, you're trying to get clout. But then the other side is like, when you see that, like, it's kind of like, you feel kind of good, like that someone's doing that, and it's like, does taking the video and doing it spread positivity? Like, if I don't know that these are happening, like how am I supposed to, if I don't know, I don't know. Like, do I just assume people are out doing these things? Like, I don't that's like not a thought in my mind that typically, like, I don't think someone's out there giving people $10,000, but this guy posted a video of it, so I'm like, that's kind of cool. You know what I mean? So I see both sides. Are you doing it? But then the real problem is, what's the underlying reason? Is it to spread positivity, or is it for like internet clout?
Is it for awareness, or for
ties back to Lee's point about what Matthew McConaughey said is, like, are you doing it, to punch your ticket, or are you doing it out of the goodness of being a good person? That's ultimately, and that's the problem, is that you'll never know, because most people, most people. Even if they say it's for the goodness, you never know. You never know people's truth.
Hey, but like,
that was a good point though. I didn't look at that perspective before, but you're right. Spreading positivity and kind of inspiring other people to do good things. Okay, I see.
Because if you don't have it on video, how are you supposed to know that?
No one's gonna believe it. Hey, I gave this guy $10,000. You go do something great. Like, hey, fuck off. Like, I'm putting that shit in AMC instead, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
There was that one video.
Please God, take it to the moon.
Yeah.
Do you guys know?
That's where I believe in God.
Do you guys know Mr. Beast? Have you guys heard of a YouTuber called Mr. Beast?
Mr. Beast. Yeah.
It's because he generates revenue off like views and stuff like that. So I do understand his point of view. Where he had a pizza delivery driver come by, and he gave that guy a house and all the accessories. What he did was like, so this pizza delivery guy came over, and he's like, "Hey man, I know you're just a pizza delivery guy, but tomorrow we're gonna be helping to move. I will pay you double what you're getting charged right now at the delivery job if you come help us." The guy agreed. He's like, "Okay guys, here's a spin on this. Is he's going to be picking out his house and accessories for his house he doesn't even know yet." So he's like, they'd be like asking, he's like, "Yo, we're should be on our friend's house, no budget needed. What do you think about that TV?" He's like, "Yo, that TV's amazing, man. Like, that's, I don't know, you guys are such nice people." And he's like constantly doing that. And eventually, like, "Here's the key to your house, dude." And he's like, "What?" And he's like, "Dude, like the sickest thing." But obviously it's like, wow, you had to record it, but it's like, yeah, because that's how he's able to do these things is through revenue of showing people.
That's what I mean, though. So is he doing it for revenue, or is he doing it, or is it just like is
Probably
it like
both.
something that he benefits from both sides?
It's probably both, to be honest. It's probably content, easy content for him, but also the more views on that content he gets, the more he's able to do it. So it's almost like a double-edged sword where it's like, you know,
the good deeds are funding themselves. Essentially.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, I've heard of Mr. Beast. My brother and my mom actually watch him, but his stuff.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. He gives away really cool shit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one day we can be a guest on our show. That'd be sick.
Give us five new viewers.
I'll take them.
Oh shit! What was I gonna say? It was back to the Matthew McConaughey doing good deeds for. Oh, heaven! Like, do you guys afterlife? What's your guys' take on? You know, do you think your life on Earth impacts what happens to you after? What do you think?
Go ahead, Lucas.
I think once you're dead, you're gone. It's like, do what you can to leave your mark on here. Like, just, you know, like, have some sort of history. But once the last person says your name, or the last person remembers you, you're gone. It's almost like that movie, the Disney movie.
Hercules.
No, man. The one about the afterlife, the
Soul?
No.
You
made me watch the movie, and it was like the guy was Coco. Where like
Coco.
Like Coco's dad was starting to fade because the last memory of him was the grandma, and that's totally how I see it. The last person who remembers you, that's you. That's the last you. It's a memory. So make your make it so your name was worthy to put on a book or something. Or you know what? Just live your life the way you want to live your life. I feel like there's no. Doesn't mean you have to now. Everyone has to be a memorable person. But yeah, I don't believe in a afterlife. You disappear. You're gone.
It's kind of scary to think that what. Let's say, you don't make it famous or anything like that, but let's say you live your life now. You think, 4, 5 generations till you're not really talked about anymore?
I think it depends on the mark you left behind. We still talk about fucking Mozart, and when the fuck was that guy around?
No, that's
if you're
saying.
Famous. If you're not famous,
you're not famous.
Oh, sorry. If you're not famous,
into your family, how many generations do you think you're talking about? 5 is a stretch.
I'd say 3.
I think 5 is a stretch. More than 3.
No, 3. No, 3 would be your great. I hear stories about my great grandparents.
Absolutely.
Actually, my great grandfather was actually still alive. I met him.
Yeah.
On my Filipino side, but 5 is probably. It's kind of scary to think about that. That after
5's a stretch. 5's a big stretch.
I mean, the thought of thinking that your family members are all alive in heaven and watching you no matter what you do, and then you start having sexual activity, and it's kind of weird. I'm not really about it.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, that's a big loophole, or at least a factor that I don't want to address.
How many generations of your family are just literally watching you, being like, "Yo, I hope this guy doesn't screw us up," and then they see me black out on a Saturday, and they're like, "Well."
Mama, our future.
He was this close to joining us this week.
You stupid proggy! You stupid proggy! Get back!
Stuck their hand out to greet you, welcome you in.
I puke and rally. They're like,
I think that too. I think it's just unfortunately after you pass, you kind of just deteriorate in the ground. Unfortunately, as cold and sad as that might seem, I think that's my take right now.
Well, that's why I thoroughly believe in all that, donating my organs, cremate me after whatever's left.
No one's gonna want your organs.
Yeah, they're pickled, bro, with vodka. No one wants to shit.
Yeah, they want for restaurants want them.
Yeah.
You become a famous dish in Poland, like Lukasz.
Then that's my mark, dude. I'm,
That's big.
A few extra generations.
That's big.
Oh, that's big. What? That's fucked that you just said that, dude. That's so fun.
Sending him to his ancestors right now.
What about you, Lee?
Yeah, I used to be in the same camp as you guys. When you're dead, you're.
What camp?
Gone.
I didn't go camp. I don't camp.
That's true. I guess cottage. You go cottaging. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not in the same cottage. Yeah.
The same school of thought for sure that I used to be.
School of hard thought.
What?
Nothing. Go ahead.
What did you say?
It's a school of hard thought.
Oh, bro,
Sorry,
that's bad. You should probably take a drink for that.
Yeah. It wasn't
bad.
until recently though that I wouldn't say I'm completely sold on the idea, but I'm open to the idea that
But you're ready to let them in, huh?
yeah, hell yeah.
How many can you fit?
I'm not answering that. Yeah,
Shy
no.
still.
I'm open to there being something afterwards. Not heaven, not like heaven or anything like that. But I think what it boils down to, and I think what everyone comes into religion or the topic of religion starts thinking about it is what makes us what's the word we want to use? Sentient? Like is the soul, our consciousness, our mind, like that thing that makes us aware is what gets people thinking about religion, right?
I don't know.
I would say like that's the thing that we're all like, well, there's got to be more than biology because like I'm here, I'm aware of things, like I'm a being, like this. There's some sort of mysticism about it.
So, with that train of thought, so do you feel that what the last like the way that your mentality is when you last are, so like let's say you die at the age of like let's say like right now, your consciousness now is what's transferred, so whatever's
No.
left.
So here's how I view it. It's a little complicated, so I'll do my best to explain it. I believe that, and this kind of ties into a little bit of it makes a lot of religious views make sense to me. And I don't actively believe this. It's just something I'm open to the idea about. This isn't off the table for me. The idea that there is one cosmic consciousness that experiences through the perception of our biological mechanisms. I don't know if that makes sense. But basically what I'm trying to say is, for example, the three of us would be originally from the same single cosmic consciousness, but perceive individual identity through our brains and mechanisms and using our eyes and our senses. And there's this false veil of individuality and being unique. And when we pass, it's literally just consciousness flowing through us, observing the world. And then when our vessel dies, that consciousness kind of rejoins the cosmic consciousness and slips into the next thing. So I think our consciousness, not to a degree where we can think about things and recall past lives, or not necessarily reincarnation, but I think the thing that makes us alive will continue through everything, through different degrees of awareness.
Almost like
I hope that makes sense.
How energy can never be destroyed, just gets reused.
Basically, yes.
Okay.
Like I'm open to the idea that everything has a consciousness, just not the same. But
the same complexity.
Not the same complexity. Correct. I think everything has a level of consciousness to it that is either inhibited or enhanced by the biomechanics of that individual. For example, we will experience higher consciousness than a rat. But not because we're more enlightened, not because we have a soul or because we're God's chosen people, but simply because our biological mechanisms allow us to have higher senses and see a wider range of colors, and opposable thumbs allowed us to imagine and move on more. So we have the same consciousness, but our biological vessel helps us get further.
Interesting.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm open to that idea now. That one's got my interest.
I mean, I wish I was more open to a more not so bleak frame of mind, because I know like the way that I would think about it is very just like, wow, dude, that's like a sad way of thinking about life. Like where it's just like you're kind of gone after. But
so why for both of you? Why do you think that? Because again, I used to think it too. I'm curious. What was your reasoning?
I'm a big. Oh, go Lukasz.
Go Matt. Go ahead. I already said my piece. So.
I was gonna say I'm a big. I need to see it to believe it kind of person. I need to experience it for me to have faith or believe in concepts like this. That's probably the biggest reason. And like again, I've never had an experience in my life where I was like, that was a sign from God.
Right. Yeah, and again, I wouldn't believe that there's a God, pulling all the strings and guiding all of us. But I'm just curious. Sorry.
Where he's like rolling. He's like, "All right, Matt, you're gonna get this promotion. We're rolling a die. You got to roll a 6 or higher."
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Yeah.
You're good.
Snake eyes. Fuck.
He constantly rolls his dice off the table and be like, "Oh, I guess it's nothing." He just whips it against the wall.
That's why I'm a shitty person, bro.
That's it. No, I just wonder where your line is. Is like, okay, you got to see it to believe it. And I get that. That's fair. But there are other things in the world that you haven't seen that you believe. Why do you draw the line here?
Can you give me an example of one that you're thinking? This guy's just calling
space.
You out for no reason.
Space. Let's say anything to do with space.
I've looked through a telescope.
Okay, but like the you're not wrong. Let's say the physics behind how space works. Well, like motion in space, for example.
But I think because there's typically, for most of it, there can be scientific conclusions around it.
Okay.
Or scientific hypotheses that can be backed. But again, we talked about this. I know science can change what are scientific findings and stuff.
Yeah,
but there's still like you know what I mean? Like there's research and shit. Whereas like these phenomenon that happen that people can't seem to explain what occurs. They're like, oh, it's got to be like outside,
right?
Controlled from divine intervention or something like that.
So what about? Because I'm sure there are a bunch of things that you believe in that science cannot explain. Example for that would be
like how AMC stock shoots up so high.
Yeah, science cannot explain that shit. Absolutely not. No one can.
God can.
No, but and beyond here, do you believe in love?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Again, yes, but because of the fact that it's we talked about this too. It's you can ultimately deduce that the feeling of love is realistically certain like it's chemical reactions that are going off that cause you to feel a certain way that are typically interpreted as love. But yeah, I'd say I do.
Yeah, but there is no scientific way to explain love, and like you said, the chemicals going off stuff are byproducts and correlations to this guy's feeling love, and sure we could do brain scans and see which parts of the brain are triggered, which chemicals are induced. Is there a lot of serotonin that's produced when he's feeling these lovey-dovey feelings for sure, but those things are just things that are tied to it, not necessarily explaining why you felt love for that thing or person or
and that's where it's like interesting. Oh, you froze, so I don't know if I cut you off.
But
like reflecting on previous relationships and stuff, it makes you question like, was I ever actually in love, or was it something that now that I've gone through that experience and learned from it, like would I still say that at that time I was in love, or was it just my now present understanding and my understanding of the concept has just changed as I've experienced more, or different types of emotions. But yeah, that's a fair point. But again, I guess because where that contrasts my belief in like higher beings is the fact that I've experienced that, or I'm actively experiencing that. So firsthand, I can say, yeah, I believe it because I feel that way right now, let's say. Whereas I think that's where I would, for the specific example of love, that would be my
so okay, let's flip the coin to I suppose a darker side. We were just talking earlier about that hockey player who lost their 6-day-old baby, and I mean both you and I agreed we can't even begin to fathom that. Something that we haven't experienced. Do we then discredit his emotions?
No, and that I'm glad you brought that up, because that I don't want people to think that like I don't want you to believe. I don't want people to share my beliefs. Like you can I like people to have their own. I don't like when people try to push their beliefs onto other people. It's like like if you believe, if that's your faith, like so again, a great example is Judaism and stuff. Like I free to participate and learn about it. Does it mean that I believe what the faith is what the faith and religion their belief system is? Not necessarily, no. I just want to celebrate it, to be part, to be part of it and experience, to see like this is how this tradition is celebrated in other cultures.
Fucking appropriation, man.
I know, right? I'm a monster.
Fucking horse shit. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. But I just mean maybe specifically, and I agree with you. Shouldn't push your beliefs on other people and expect them to believe what you believe. But sticking to your criteria that you put there, without having experienced it yourself, so you don't believe in it. Going back to the NHL player, I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I hope you haven't felt that sorrow, because that sounds like something I don't wish for.
Yeah, no, I don't think
so
I
hope
ever
you
felt
haven't.
that type of sorrow.
So would you still believe that feeling exists then, I suppose, is my question?
Yeah. And I see your point is see, the other thing though is that this is like we're now we're talking emotions comparative to divine beings. You know what I mean? Like you're talking if I can be empathetic to how someone's emotionally feeling. I don't know if Lee's frozen or if he's just holding that face like really well. Oh, there you go.
I think I was frozen.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're, I can be empathetic for sure, but because I'm a very empathetic person, but when it comes to divine beings and such, I think that's just too vast of a different plane for who I am as a person, I guess.
Sorry. Quick tangent. I don't think you are an empathetic person, because talking to your exes, I feel like we found out you're not empathetic.
But
I'm kidding.
Obviously. I'm saying I understood where they were coming from. So
that's true. That's absolutely true. Yeah, you didn't fight on a lot of it.
Remember, I'm a teacher.
You're a teacher. That's right. Yes, that's right.
Not a religion teacher.
Oh no.
He might be by the end of this one. He might be. No, I absolutely see your point. Yeah, we're comparing apples and oranges. I suppose the only point I'm trying to make is that there are a lot of things that science cannot explain. And one of the things I've been thinking about recently too, and we talked about this when we were talking about like Bigfoot and flat Earth and stuff, how these conspiracy theorists, work backwards and just kind of try and find stuff to fill the holes in their thoughts. And I've been thinking about it, and there's a lot of science that does the same bullshit, and I don't support it. But when the logical thinkers and the people who live by science and deductive thinking, really shit on those ideas, like, oh, you're working backwards and stuff. There are things that science does it too, so like you can't really shit on those people. Like you can't be a hypocrite.
Can't play both sides. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like for example, we claim to know how the universe works. Oh, but what the hell? The mass doesn't add up to how it works, so there must be dark energy out there. Like, what the fuck? Are you just making shit up so your equations work all of a sudden? And even more recently now, on top of dark matter, there's things called like phantom energy and dark radiation. All things literally just to fill in the gaps so that equations could work. Meanwhile, there's no proof that this stuff exists. It's just, well, it would have to exist for our equations to work. Well, what if your equations don't work?
Yeah, what if you're just wrong?
Yeah, what if you're just wrong?
Is there light matter?
Good question. I don't know.
There's got to be dark matter.
There's got to be. There's got to be.
Sorry, I'm gonna change this a little here, since we talked about paranormal activity. Do you feel like that has anything to do with religion or afterlife? Because we talk about sometimes spirits, ghosts, and stuff like that. Or do you, or does that kind of then be like, okay, well now I realize my belief in paranormal is really just coincidence, or vice versa? Do you like, well, you know what? If I do believe in a paranormal activity, I feel like there should be some sort of
might as well
an afterlife.
You might as well.
Do you guys believe that there's any correlation?
I see how there could be dots that are connected, but I don't think that they have to go hand in hand. I don't think you have to be religious to believe in spirits. though I guess if you believe, it works one way, not necessarily the other.
Yeah, if you believe in spirits, though, is that much more of a stretch to believe in God?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is that much more of a stretch, and the reason I think so is because again, I'm open to the idea that there's something bigger than just biology and science that makes us the way we are. And maybe it doesn't have to be as mystical as spirits in another plane and ghosts and things like that, but perhaps it's just whatever that thing that makes us who we are and whatever turns on the light switch in our brains to become these conscious beings, perhaps that thing just exists in the realm in which it came from. Again, not to sound mystical or anything, but just different planes that humans can't observe. Just
the shadow realm.
Oh fuck! I hope that's not real. But just like things like color, like we don't see the full spectrum of color. We don't hear the full spectrum of sound, and we see that's scientifically proven. So I don't think it's that far-fetched to believe there's other undetectable things that make us who we are now, to believe that there's this thing that created us and has that almighty plan and we were made in his image and shit. Like, yeah, I do think that is a bigger step.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, to tie this back to, like we had said, the Bible thumpers, like the whole creation story, like, to me, that's ridiculous.
So you don't believe anything created us at all? Like, no, so you're just full evolution?
I'm a firm evolutionary.
So Big Bang.
So how do you...
I mean, no, I don't know. I haven't actually, now that you bring that up, I didn't go that far back when I was referring to, like, creation. I mean, creation of, like, human life. I think it was definitely evolutionary. In terms of, like, the universe, I mean, that's just so big.
What are your thoughts on the fact that...
I just don't think, like, God did the whole, like, 7 days, like, with some Play-Doh and boom, Earth is there. Took a McRib, made a woman out of a man kind of thing.
When he made every human, he, like, pushed the Play-Doh thing down and made our hair sprout out. Ah, yes. These are the Rastafarians.
So... Yeah, and then the Chia Pets. Like, we got leaved.
And... What do you guys like disagree with God when he was like, "I'm gonna put the G-spot of a guy in their butt." # no homo.
Yeah. Nah, I like the spice he had in his mind there. Like he
did the little Salt Bay thing.
Yeah, that's probably the most creative thing he's ever done. Probably the most creative thing, other than inventing Krispy Kreme. I think that's God's second greatest work.
That was on the 8th. Wasn't that on the 8th day?
I think it was the 8th. Krispy Kreme was the 8th day. Yeah.
It was that and Stegosauruses at the. He had a wild day.
That was the day he did shrooms.
Angel, come here. Look at this shit right here. Look at this shit right here. What is that? I don't know, man. It just holds up a Stegosaurus.
Is that what happened? Is that actually what happened? Like, he was like trying the Krispy Kreme and he dropped one and it turned into the meteor that. No, he's like, you killed the dinosaurs. That was the angel, the Lucifer, the one that turned into the devil. That's really the story behind what happened.
God dropped them.
Well, he dropped a piece of the Krispy Kreme, it turned into a meteor. Isn't also the dinosaurs? He's like, you're going to hell, bro. You're running. Or God's like, you're running hell from now on.
Isn't also the reason why he created the pandemic to create basically an apocalypse, because we keep using other variations of milk other than cow milk, and he's just getting sick of it. Stop milking my nuts, bro. Get out of here.
Yo, almond milk's pretty good though.
Yeah, you're one of the reasons.
This guy's sucking on almond titties or something? That's weird.
I'm gonna grocery store. I have to wear a disguise when I go in there. You
wear the glasses.
I thought your glasses, mustache thing. Oh, I thought that was your disguise.
I feel like taking off because I'm the same dude.
No, have you guys seen Prometheus? The movie Prometheus?
Yeah.
So at the beginning of that movie, for anyone who hasn't seen it, and I'm sorry if this is a spoiler alert, but this movie's been out for so fucking long. You should have seen it.
It's like the prequel to Alien, right? It's basically.
Yeah. So in the beginning, there are those like badass giant white Asian. Alien.
What?
Alien.
No, the white Asian black guys.
They're those giant white alien guys, and like one of them like drinks something, and then he dissolves into the water, and he is what creates life on Earth.
I don't remember that part.
That's like the very first scene. The very
I'm
first.
pretty
scene
sure he's been watching Flubber. With Robin Williams.
Masterpiece. No, but like I could buy into that idea of us being created. Like I think the idea of us being created isn't off the table for me. I do believe in evolution, but I mean like that the first step to evolution, I could buy into something having placed us there.
Neanderthals,
like,
dude.
Is who created us?
No, that's our evolutionary track.
No, we evolved not from Neanderthals, but side by side with Neanderthals.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree with that, but I just mean again like the starting point, the first single cell organism that turned into everything. Could that have been placed there? I'm not opposed to it. I'm just opposed to the idea that whatever created us, if something created us, is sitting over watching us and hoping to God, Lukasz, you're gonna do real good, and just worship me. And
I'm gonna let that guy down for sure.
Yeah, I know. I don't buy into that.
Or girl.
I don't buy into that so much.
Or girl.
Yeah, sure.
Genderless.
Or they,
probably.
them.
Yeah, that's God's pronoun for sure, right? They, them. Because the Bible always says he, so I don't know how they all feel about everything that's going on nowadays. But
do you think he changed his gender?
His pronouns?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised the Bible hasn't gone back and fixed that. Now with 2021.
In the newest testament?
Yeah, change it to they, them instead of just he.
So, I mean, we talked a lot about Christianity and stuff. Do you guys, and we all took world religion, right? Is there any religion that you guys think maybe got it best?
I think Buddhism.
Buddhism. I was gonna say that to you.
I love the fact
it's not necessarily. Oh, sorry, Lucas. Go on.
I was just gonna say I love the minimalism. Like you don't need all these physical items to live. Live your best life. Sorry, I'm not trying to sound like a white girl profile here. Live your best life. Live, laugh, love. And I don't think there's a state of enlightenment at the end of it, where it's like you do all these things and there's an enlightenment side. But I do feel like you live your life more full, with less objects, just you and people.
I think the thing that I like about Buddhism is that there's not necessarily a being that you're necessarily worshiping. It's something to do with yourself. Like,
it's Buddha.
It's all about yourself.
Being a better person.
Yeah, and that's where I kind of fuck with that. I think that's pretty cool.
So Lucas, no, I don't. I could be wrong, but I don't believe you worship Buddha. I think Buddha is just
he's like the ideal.
He's the teaching. You follow his teachings.
Oh, okay.
Because Buddha's not actually a god. I don't know if that's a common misconception. Buddha's not a god. Buddha is the guy who reached full enlightenment and is used as.
It was like our Halloween party like 2 years ago. He was so drunk, he was full enlightenment that his eyes were closed and he sat funny.
It's that funny.
And if you tickle my belly, you got good luck.
Does that still stand? Like
you can still do that. You can do that at work. I'll call it in if I don't like you one day. We'll find
the camera blind spots. Like rub your belly.
Before we ship out a package, we're like, this is pretty fragile. We need some good luck here. I'll rub my belly against the skid.
It's all these sweat marks.
What?
Why is my box wet?
Stop making me bless every package that leaves this building.
The Waybills just ain't sticking anymore because it's just soaked.
The truck driver's like, oh my god, it's raining out there. I'm like, I can fix that.
Now it's raining in here?
Yeah. What?
How does that fit?
I misspoke.
No.
Yeah. Anyways, that's why I fuck with Buddhism, is because it's not necessarily like it's a belief in yourself, and it's practice and teachings within yourself, not necessarily designated to a being of kinds.
What about you, Lee?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Buddhism nailed it. I think if I want to explore the idea of a physical god, again, which I don't believe in, I would probably lean more to polytheistic faiths like Hinduism and even Norse mythology and things like that, because again, I don't buy that idea that there's something looking out for everyone in just the eternal good in the world. I don't buy that. But in those religions, it's very much there's effectively another plane of higher beings, but who are essentially still doing everything that we're doing. Like they have their own problems to deal with, and none of them are perfect.
Like Greek mythology, I think, is the best for that.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Yeah,
it's great.
well,
Like they got their own beefs, and some of them have their flaws, and some of them are just better at some things. But like it's just like us, but they're just a little better. And like I could buy into that because like
it's kind of cool.
Right.
See, the problem with Greek mythology is that Zeus fucks all these animals and just creates all these creatures, and everyone's like, "Yo, stop! Stop making these demigods, bro. We don't have it. What is this? It's half fish." He's like, Zeus is like, I don't know. Like, the thing looked pretty cute. I don't know.
I was saying,
he's like, sometimes you gotta fuck a fish. What can I say?
You see Magikarp's lips?
How do you think you turned to a Gyarados?
Gyarados, exactly.
You think he just splashed all over the territory? Nah, bro. Something happened there.
No, but honestly, like there's that side of. I know you're joking, and I know it's funny. Perhaps if we were back in time, where people who took Greek mythology,
we'd be killed, bro.
Yeah, took it very seriously. Like we'd be very offensive and whatnot. But the truth is, there's a bit of humor and something.
It's very human-like.
Exactly. I didn't want to say that because I was like, no, I don't want to go fuck animals and shit. Like, I don't want to say I empathize with Zeus. But there's
okay, bye. Okay, bye.
Says the guy who just got a brand new fish last week. I haven't seen it since.
That was a $300 carp, man.
He's literally like, yeah, I want the one that looks like Magikarp. Because like, what? He's like, Magikarp. I haven't seen its lips.
Lee's walking around the fish store like,
give me your most Jay-Z fish you got.
Jay-Z.
That's fine. Like, sorry to jump into your point.
Yeah.
But like, why? It's interesting that like Greek mythology doesn't have the same level of
seriousness
and like global belief system behind it, like the same way like Catholicism does.
Yeah. Honestly, and
this might be obviously like a history thing, which is maybe why it should be continued to be a mandatory course in high school, so that I would know stuff like this, but I don't. So maybe we have to review one of our episodes to talk about why Greek mythology and why it phased out. I assume it had something to do with Rome, because Roman was very.
I thought it had to do with the fact that Greek mythology.
Were they not?
Yeah, but
got that wrong?
Rome's in Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but wait, am I?
Well, because
you're not a geologist, we get it.
There is Roman mythology as well, which is very similar to Greek mythology, but no, Rome is not in Greece.
No, but then didn't the Roman Catholicism take over, and would that maybe play a role into why? That's where I was saying. I was like, oh fuck.
I thought you meant the fall of Rome, and then they stopped believing.
Like Catholicism, Roman Catholics. I assume that's potentially why then like Greek mythology phased out.
Yes.
So, but maybe that is. I'm not a historian or a geologist.
So from what I understood, the reason is because Greek mythology was strictly Greece. Like it didn't really spread out further than that. Most of Europe then translated to Catholicism, and then other parts, obviously, certain Muslim faiths.
No, actually, Greece...
on that note, why is Thor not called Grease Lightning as like a nickname?
He's not Greek. Thor's Norse.
Yeah.
Like Scandinavian mythology.
Yeah, Greece.
Like Zeus should have been Grease Lightning.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what I meant to say.
This guy.
I'm sure you have.
They're all the same.
Rome is my favorite place in Italy. Oh, I actually said it
correctly. It is.
I actually said it correctly. I was trying to mock you and say Greece.
But no, Greek mythology actually did spread to the northern parts of Africa as well. So, which was actually very interesting. A lot of back in the day, some of the mythology up there was similar to a lot of Greek mythology, like the idea of Poseidon or what's the counterpart? Is it Neptune?
Neptune, yeah.
Yeah, see, I was mixing them up. I meant to say Zeus, but yeah, like those stories. I took Greek mythology in university in my first year. And it's so fascinating. The stories are sick.
Kronos? Mm-hmm. Kronos is just the most intense story of him just trying to eat his kids, and they happen to beat him.
Not even all. Wasn't it just Zeus?
No, it was Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon apparently.
Yeah, but some of the kids died. I thought there were 7 kids.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
I could be getting those
died.
numbers wrong, but there was a bunch of kids, a bunch of them died. But yes, those 3 went.
Well, first thing you do is have kids and just eat them. And I was like, okay.
Which is interesting because that's actually that happens in nature, right? Like
animals.
If animals.
Bears do it.
There are scenarios where they'll eat if they know that there's not enough food to sustain, they'll eat one of the kids.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, survival practice. But
bears will do that if their cub is like sick or like basically debilitated, or it's like you're like basically dead. Just scarf up its kid. See you later.
Yeah, so do Mormons. I'm joking. I'm totally joking.
That's why you never see young Mormons.
It'll make it, man. It'll make it. Oh, there was something I was gonna ask, and now I forgot.
About Greek mythology?
No. Well.
Should we spin into? Well, it's 9:20 already. Should we spin into a hypothetical here?
Yeah, why not?
Or do we have any other like outstanding topics that we wanted to touch upon?
That's not gonna take forever.
Maybe we'll have to do religion part 2.
We might.
On the next biggest religious day, civic holiday.
Labor Day. That's a big one. The bread and honey.
Why
Sunday of the bread and honey festival.
Bread and honey.
That's the next religious day. Yeah.
Yeah. Boom.
So you were saying that.
Why is Remembrance Day not a holiday? I know it is out in BC, but it's not in Ontario. Like that's kind of fucked up.
Which I think is weird. I think it should be. Luckily, my company gives us the day off, so.
Yeah, like I just think that's
cool.
very. It's weird that it's not celebrated across Canada.
I do think it's interesting. Yeah, like Canada Day is a holiday, but we're not going to celebrate the people who. I know it's not directly the people who fought independence because we didn't really, but like the people who ensured our freedom and laid down their lives. Like I feel like that's just as important, if not more.
Yeah, no, I agree. Right, we got a hypothetical for this week.
I did have not really hypothetical actually, just a sincere question. I guess we can just shoot really quick and just see what you guys think.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have been talking because now we have an increase on, I guess, depression, anxiety, and that's either an increase on just it's, happening more often, or that we have more research on what it is. A lot of people are saying that it correlates to the fact that a lot of people are now starting to become more, I guess, more logical people, and believing in, or less belief in religions and stuff like that, and that's causing people to have then a bleaker outlook on life, which is now causing these things. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Do you guys feel like it's religion based, or do you think it's just honestly it's just life, like the way you're living?
A good example, Lucas, is between you and I. We both have that same outtake that we just discussed. That nothing happens after, and I think it's fair to say that neither of us, at least that I know of, can relate to. Personally, I've never had times in my life like that. But again, I also understand that not everyone handles things. People handle things differently. So coming to that realization something like that is kind of upsetting, because then you start to question like, what's my purpose? Like if I'm just gonna die and I'm not gonna leave an imprint, like what's the point? I guess I could see where that's coming from.
Well, to me then, is it really more important to try to leave a mark, or just live your life so that you're happier?
Yeah,
I'd rather live my life so that I enjoyed it more than to try to live my life to leave a mark so that people know who I am.
To be remembered.
Yeah, I think prioritizing leaving a mark is not wise. Not to say that I'm wise and I know what's wise, but I 100% agree with you guys that you should focus on enjoying the short amount of time you have on this planet before.
But then to go back to, the question though, do we think the rise of what was it? Depression and what, Lucas?
Depression and anxiety. It was really just depression, but I like to think,
anxiety kind of ties in. I feel like those two are commonly intertwined. I feel like typically if you have one, more so on the depression side, that anxiety is kind of intertwined with that. Maybe not so much the other way around. It might, it's hard to say. But yeah, so do we think that that's coming to light more because religion is playing a less impactful role on the world as a
It
whole?
almost religion gets phased out. It's starting to get phased out. Like the more and more people I talk about, like back when I was younger, it was very active that every household was taking on some sort of religious barriers. Where now, like I know a lot of households where it's like, nah, I don't really believe in it anymore.
Yeah,
I think it
in the
depends on the
Western
faiths
world.
too.
Yeah, in the Western world, sure. Religion is disappearing, but in basically
In
every
the
other part of the world, it's still
Well,
bumping.
isn't it ironic that in the Western worlds where we see these depression and anxiety cases too?
Absolutely, absolutely. I do agree that I think the absence of religion and purpose and having to accept that the world is completely random. Like I absolutely get why that concept of God came to be. Like looking at the world and being like, "Yo, there's all this shit out there." The idea that there's some sort of plan and order and someone looking out for you is a comforting idea. I totally get that. And to throw that out the window and just be like, "It's just me in this bitch," absolutely, that's too much for a lot of people to handle.
Yeah, because the other way to look at it is like evolution would be so hard to explain, like that, like 'cause when you see ecosystems and how they work, you can typically see evolution's role or impact on ecosystems, but obviously that's not something that like early civilizations were like, oh, this happens because these birds have evolved. You know what I mean? Like obviously no one had that type of insight or
Yeah.
uh,
And then
thought process, but it's definitely I could definitely see when you aren't able to explain something back then, it was very easy to just say this was God's doing. Because it's like, how else do you explain things you can't explain? I totally.
Yep, it's a convenient
That's totally
answer.
fair.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why again that ties into why the religion's impact in the world is declining in the West.
Sorry, so
I'm sure I would like to see in comparison in the world, if with the changes because as I'm sure as scientific discoveries and our scientific capabilities increase, we'll be able to explain a lot more things that in the past I think religion was heavily dependent on to explain why things happened.
So you guys said a bunch of points that I want to touch on real quick before we take off for the day. You guys know Brian Greene?
no.
Okay, so Brian Greene
Is that Brian Brown's brother?
Who the fuck is Brian Brown?
Who's Brian Brown?
Oh, that's another color.
No, Brian Greene is a physicist who is so good at explaining very complex ideas. Very fascinating guy to listen to. I recommend you guys listen to some of his talks and stuff. Brian Greene's awesome. Love listening to the dude. He was talking about this convention he went to that was, I believe the whole point of the convention was to gather a bunch of scientists from around the world and talk about God. And he went in saying that he was expecting it to be like a one-note meeting where everyone's point of view is basically going to be the laws of physics works. The idea of God is possible, but until the clouds part and God points down and says, "Hey, what up, guys?" we're just going to keep believing in physics, which we know works, but that possibility's there. To his surprise, there was a wide range of thoughts. And one of the people he mentioned specifically, I forget the guy's name, but he was a Nobel Prize winner for his like concrete mathematics. I forget on what specifically, but he's a Nobel Prize winner, and not Nobel Peace Prize because fucking anybody can get that. But like a proper Nobel Prize winner. He's a scientist, highly respected in the community, and he believed in like religion. He was not an atheist, and there's a bunch of scientists who are not atheists. And Brian Greene went to the guy and he was like, "Am I crazy for like believing what I believe? Because like you guys all have faith, and like I really don't." He's like, "Am I crazy?" And the guy's like, "No, like you're not crazy. You're on your own path, and I wish you all the success. And I hope that one day you have an experience that shows you everything that you're missing, and you can join the life that I've been living for a long time now." It's an anecdote. It's cool. It's interesting. But what I find super fascinating is that there are these people in what we would call the logical way of thinking, scientists, Nobel Prize winners, who understand the laws of physics and all of the stuff that we argue all the time in great detail, who still believe in something a little bigger than us. And that I find incredible.
I think it depends on the extent. Like, do you think he believes that in like creationism? I don't know if I'm using that word right, but like in like sure he believes in God, but does he believe in like to what extent? Like just that there's a higher being, or that like you know what I mean? Like that would be an important piece because again, I'm sure. Again, all it could take is one experience to be like,
for sure,
this is a sign from there that there is a God. You know, I'm open to it. That's what I mean. Like I am open to it. I don't think that I'm not. It's just it's not something I dedicate a whole lot of time to.
I agree.
It's not something I take time out of my day to practice faith or anything like that. But again, all it takes is one maybe experience, and like that guy said, I'd be curious to know the extent into which they believe that there's a God. Like, do they then believe like the whole creation story, or is it just that they believe that there's something bigger out there that, you know, can send you when you need it the most?
For sure. And to me, the big takeaway of, and you're right, there are layers to that. Like, to what degree do they believe in this stuff? But the fact that they believe anything, because maybe it's just me, maybe I'm the ignorant asshole here, but I just assumed that scientists would be atheists. I just assumed they would be on the side of logic and not be faithful, not faithful, but you know, religious or spiritual, whatever word you want to use. So when I heard that, I was like, oh shit, there are people in both camps. Like that's,
you think
that,
that's
to me,
more,
I think it's fascinating.
I think the more illogical piece of that would be the fact that that you initially had thought that they wouldn't believe in God because they believe in science.
Yeah, no, and I realize that now. I absolutely do realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like ultimately, there's going to be certain things they can't explain, and I think again, what kind of like ties into what to dovetail what Matt was saying, is that eventually, if you can't get an explanation for something, sometimes you just have to point up to that answer and be like, well, maybe it's just something that's higher than us.
Or it could be an event that in their life that, like the breakthrough, they were, I need to know, like, what am I missing? And a sign comes to them, and they solve what they were working on. Like that could be it. That could be all it takes, really.
Yeah.
Like your life work is completed by divine intervention. Like, sure, why not? I'm sure it could happen. But yeah, I mean, guys, maybe we get to jump into a part 2 down the road because I'm sure there's still lots of stuff we didn't get to talk about. Good chat if you guys are there. Thanks for tuning in still. And if there are topics you guys want to hear, let us know. Shoot us on Instagram, and if we have enough to talk about, we'd love to do it. But hope you guys have a strong week, and happy Canada Day, happy Independence Day, and fucking get at her.
Yeah, let's hope today's beautiful weather continues for the rest of the week.
Go.
And
maybe our topic has made you a believer. Who knows?
In us.
A Justin believer. All right, guys. See you next
Everyone,
week.
have a good week.
Peace.
Bye.